Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well and having success at picking and stuff. What we have before you is that Centurion core and the pins. And, you know, I dropped that 8-cylinder in the, there, you know, it'll drop in there. I dropped it in the padlock, and it works and everything, but I thought, you know what? What if somebody didn't have a core like that? How can you modify what you've got to make it any better? Well, I have a cheap tap set that I got from Banggood, and this is a padlock, so I needed the 3mm one. You can almost do this by hand. I mean, the brass is pretty easy to turn. But what I did was, I went ahead and threaded, I don't know if you can see that, I threaded each one of those cores. I left, whoops, sorry about that, I left core number 1 unthreaded, but I threaded this one, this one, this one, and this one. This is that pin core retaining one, and you can kind of see the little burr down there where, let me get the flat tweezers. You can see that little burr down there when they did their milling on my particular lock. All I had to do was come in through this bottom side down here and push up, just lever up with my pick and break that off, and then I could push it up. What I should have done is shim it, because I knew it was one of these type of cores anyway, you know. I should have shimmed it, but I didn't, and there was this big gap here when I started pushing it in, and sure enough, stuff started falling down. But anyway, I'm trying to beef this up because it also comes with 3 keys, you know, and I'm not a locksmith or anything. I've got several locks here that don't have keys, and I just wish I would have saved keys throughout the years, because I remember drawers full of keys with no locks, and like, man, those things sell for money on eBay. You know, people pay anywhere from, I don't know, $6 on up for keys. Some of the old ones are really ornate and very well done. But besides that, I also threaded the Bible. Now, you know, I watched a Bill Bacardi video, and he was talking about how he doesn't thread up here because pins will get stuck down there. He picked a lock pretty quickly because 2 out of the 5 pins or whatever were stuck up there, and so he only had a 3-pin lock to pick. But the serrations are pretty cool, and this is not my first challenge lock. This is just a lock I'm messing around with. But on my first challenge lock that I'm making, sure enough, I threaded the Bible too. But so that the next time I have to do it, this is the destructive entry thing I was talking about. You just file off this end right over here of the brass. I just used a hand file. At first I was using a hand file, then I went with the bench grinder a little bit. But then I took the little 3mm thread thing and threaded it, and I got a little cap screw, and I just screwed it in there. So the next time that I need to do that rotating thing, and this is the little guy right there that falls in that slot, that's what I'll be able to do, is use that. You know, just unscrew that right there and ping, pull this thing out, and then you can pop the core out. Right, but with these pins down here, what I can do on the bottom pins, see, at first I couldn't find, this is actually a piece of a lighter from a big lighter, a piece of flint. You know, it's actually manufactured better and shaped better than the pins that come in this thing. But I took one of these little, you know, copper looking things, and I started filing on it with a file just to make my own little serration. I took a triangular file, and I noticed that these things are plated. They're not even copper. Sorry, I'm trying to do this to the camera and pick that thing up with these tweezers. There we go. Avoid him now. I got to keep them back there so it'll be in focus. But yeah, they're plated. There's some kind of like silver metal underneath them, so they're slugs of something. They're not even flat on the end either, so, you know, they're almost like key pins when you go to pick them. You can see this guy right here. See, he almost has a spool effect, but it's so tiny. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to sit here and they're so small I can't chuck them in the Dremel. So I'm just going to basically sit there. I had a pair of needle nose pliers and holding them and filing on them. But that's how I'm going to beat that thing up, basically, is just basically thread those. Oh, and the bottom pins down here, the key pins, these are manufactured a little bit better, you know, and everything. But the ones that are tall enough to take a serration, I think on this particular key there was only like one or two maybe. I can probably substitute. I've got American Padlock pins, key pins that I can substitute in there if I have to. But most of these are really small. Key pin, that's like the longest one. That's probably the only one that will take a serration. The rest of these guys are too tiny. But there we go. That's all I'm going to do. Then I'll put that thing back together because you know, you can make a hybrid lock. Get this guy zoomed back here. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. What I was going to say is you can make a hybrid lock, but I don't know. I kind of like want to keep it how they come from China. You know, I mean, you know what they are. I'm not really going to use this in any real application to lock it, but I do want to change its characteristics when I pick it. You know, and to do that, all I've got to do is try to make something out of these driver pins up here and thread that, which I've already done, and counter milling is probably better, but I don't know, I had the tap and I just went for it. So there you go. Sorry we're getting airborne and everything. Oh, and what is this? Well, this is a little scale. And I weighed that core. I haven't weighed an American core. But that little core weighs 7 grams, the little skeletonized core, so I don't know how much money they're saving. But they could save a little bit more money by threading. You take some more brass off when you do that. So, I know I didn't zero that, but anyways. There we go. Zero yourself. You're close to zero, but not really. Well, close enough for government work. Anyways, around 7 grams is what I was reading the last time, so I don't know how much money they save in brass, you know, from chopping that up like that. It can't be a whole lot. Like somebody said, you know, the cost of just milling that should be more than just leaving it as is, you know. It's an extra step in milling, but who knows? Who knows the Chinese and what they're thinking about when they do that. Oh, and one other thing. Sorry before we get on. I do have a kick holder. I've had one here all along. Steel Penning sent me this lock, and I picked it, and I didn't think about it, but it also is a kick holder. And I'm showing my top secrets. This is the Bible of the lock. This is the challenge lock I'm making. And I put it in there, and look at that, threading in there. Giving away all your secrets, aren't you? No, not all of them, but I just wanted to show that, but this thing, yeah, you just pry these little things back here, and it'll hold a kick cylinder, and then the next time you want to pick it, because when I make my, I'm showing all my threading off, aren't I? I know I got to file that down. When you thread it, when you tap it, it leaves little burrs up there. I haven't filed that down yet, because we want a smooth operation to your lock. But then I shall pick it and see how it works as a challenge lock, and I'll send it off probably to Mr. Bill. But there you go. That's sure fun for the night. And yes, that's old school. Old school, old school. Alright, so I hope to, only thing I can think about there is maybe increase the spring tension if they're not coming up to the shear line. Or even use pieces of flint and broken off pieces of screw. Anything will be better, you know, than what they've got in there right now, because that flint does drop into the cylinder. I've already checked it. It drops right into the holes with no problem. Well, there you go. So, thank you for enjoying this aerial view. Think of it like a drone.
All the dogs little queen right behind me in the phantom. Never go, dip on the set, stay Santana. Run it back till the lights go when I hit it up Green Lantern. Top the bars from the dogs down to Atlanta. In the cut, in the bill, so let it know, yeah, I might be. Roll up, I'm calm down when I'm moving high speed. I still want you to wait back, cause you know what I need. Please, oh me, oh my, you've been moving for some time. Flexing, trying to exercise. It's like I cannot change.